Alrighty, it's a long time coming. But here we are. Many cold-blooded characters that we will be observing on this show. Both these shows actually have a pulse going for them. So it's going to be very intriguing. Welcoming back his partner in crime, Jonathan Mark.
Always glad to be here.
Alrighty.
Especially talk about these two shows.
Yes. These both literally kind of fell under the radar. And I don't know if it's just that you couldn't stream them everywhere or what. I don't know if it was kind of like Power or Ray Donovan where they really got under everyone's skin to where they're like, that's so real.
What's funny to Barry is that it felt like the pandemic is what kind of helped people discover it.
I think it did. I really do. I think it's just that first year we were all trying to catch up, and then we're realizing, okay, do I give up cable or do I keep it around in case I have to delay my streaming subscription? Or I think it was kind of like the same thing with DVD and Blu-ray. Neither is going away. One wants to edge out the other just because of competition, but that's just not going to happen. They all work. They're all competent. It's not like with VHS or Laserdisc where it's like, no, you're getting way better Dolby digital and picture quality on this versus that. Same thing with 4K. Not everything can be in 4K, but it's not going away either. You know? Oh man! So we're gonna give a very short review on the short-lived Hulu show, and then go into what you guys probably more likely came here for, which is the mega 4-season hit on HBO. So we're going to first dive into Jeffrey Donovan's comeback, Shut Eye, which involves a bunch of con artists and gypsies and other shenanigans.
You're at a crossroads.
I can feel that.
Would you like me to light a candle?
What do I do?
I light the candle. I say a prayer, and fate reveals your path. It's $500 for the candle and the ceremony. There's a 10% discount for cash, but Visa is fine.
Charlie, I need you to produce. If you can't produce, I got plenty of this.
You have to be careful. They're nothing but con artists. The whole business is run by these two families, gypsies.
If you're not one of them, you are fair game.
God gave the gypsies the right to steal.
Why the hell are you following me?
That injury is there's just no robot.
Could it change the way I see things?
Fake psychic, real visions.
Why can't you just have a normal job where people aren't trying to kill you?
Used to be somebody who wouldn't settle for scraps.
If I can do this to him, imagine what I could do to your Marks. It's a sign.
You're in good hands.
Bonzo wants to kill us, and we are gonna lose Nick.
We need to go after all of them.
That is nice.
And for Charlie, perception, it's ours to play with.
We crossed a serious line.
We did.
And then we're going to dive into the hitman turned actor dark comedy melodrama that is Barry. And
these people I take out, they're bad people. The money's good. It's a job. Yep.
Hey, man. Are you seeing this beautiful morning? What are you doing? How are you?
What am I doing? I'm set up here like you asked me to.
Oh, right. Duh.
This heat is urgent.
This is Ryan Madison.
Familiar to my slaughterous thoughts.
Hey, man. Are you new to this class? Help me out.
Ryan, you're up.
I'm gonna do the scene with him.
And action.
I don't know what to say.
Wow.
The acting class made me feel really good. I feel really motivated right now. These are professional actors. They're the real deal, and they say I got something.
You're a killer, Barry.
Acting.
It's a direct conflict. Being someone who anonymously kills people.
If you're going to be an actor, here's my only direction. Adapt. Adjust. Let the cat out.
When I first started in this class, I was very overwhelmed, but then I saw everyone else perform.
Let's pour.
Forgot my line.
And then it was easier. There's always a million reasons not to do something, Barry. If you want it, go for it.
This is what you do. This is all you do.
Why can't I do both things?
I'm done, Fuchs. Starting now.
Bravo! I just saw you go to a place tonight I have never seen before. Okay, I see you're still in that place. I'm going to leave you to your process. They can wait till Monday.
So yeah, first was Shut Eye. Now that you've heard the trailer and everything, I first heard about this in 2016, maybe 2017. But yeah, so I was working all kinds of gigs at the time, and I remember my father forwarded me this issue. He's like, "Oh, you and your sister are gonna love this. You're all into the movies and everything." There was an article just talking about just the outrageous wages all these hit TV actors were making per episode. So it was talking about like these other things Bryan Cranston was working on. It was describing the ridiculous amount of money that so like Kevin Costner was making $30 million per episode of Yellowstone. And Jeffrey Donovan, I think, had yeah. So what the hell does this have to do with Shut Eye? Well, at the very bottom, Jeffrey Donovan is listed there. Yeah, that's right. The megastar of Burn Notice is getting paid $10 million per episode. And so I'm like, holy fuck! Everybody's stars, their agents and PR, they want to keep them around here for a while, don't they?
They sure do.
Jesus, so I thought it was already ridiculous because I'd heard similar stuff with like what episodes like wages were for someone like Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, and maybe even just some of the other HBO comedians. Is like I'd heard just so many other things. And I'm like, that can't be right. We're no, wow. And here it is. So I had heard about it, I had seen it, and it actually took longer to get into than I wanted to. And it wasn't just because I hated it or anything. It was just like, just sitting down is just, I'm glad Hulu wasn't like some of these others where if something didn't get any attention, they would just take it down. It's like, no, they let it grow after a while. And it kind of, both these shows, if there's anything that got me in common, I would say there is a lot of falling down, kind of American Psycho kind of stuff. Is like, well, how long can this psychopathic liar keep it going before every unhinged thing just starts, happening in reverse? Oh man,
it's interesting because I didn't know about this show until you mentioned it to me.
No way. Okay.
A year ago. So.
So you've been into all kinds of shows.
It's funny because as a fan, I was gonna say, as a fan of Jeffrey Donovan, it's kind of like, wow, I'm surprised I haven't heard of this, considering I've always wanted him to be in more stuff. So shame it.
Oh, totally. So how did you get into like all kinds of twisted thrillers and psycho mystery and action crime stuff? What about that genre kind of really appealed to you?
Well, for some of that, sometimes it's like the mysteries that are told, or even sometimes it can be certain characters that I find to be unique or interesting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And plus also harkens back to when I used to read Agatha Christie novels when I was in middle school. Yes.
Oh, nice.
So.
Perfect. That is perfect. Yeah, I was into all kinds of stuff, just whether it was one of those violent Lionsgate thrillers you try to sneak out of with at the Blockbuster video store, to just seeing something else, just kind of blurring that line between lowbrow and actually high profile stuff, like something you would see on USA Network or FX one day after school, and you're like, that really unnerved me. It was very well written, and it's not my kind of movie typically. It's everything from like 3 a.m. to like Frailty to just other stuff where I'm like, this isn't bad, but it's very hard to describe. Has anyone else seen this? Oh, you have. Oh, awesome.
Oh, that's happened to me with some films,
Oh,
but
man.
it was very few and far between. Sadly.
I once did that one time where me and my brother were watching that movie everyone likes to hate, but everyone kind of secretly likes, Basic, with John Travolta and Sam Jackson. And it was so funny. I know you loved it. It's just one in a million. It was just so funny. It's like I just brought it up one day, and it's just like it just started being kind of rhythmic, just like a ricochet. And I'm like, my uncle's just like, "Oh, I know, I've seen that. It's sounding very familiar." And then my father's like, "I definitely saw that." Travolta, Jackson, not public. I definitely saw that. I don't know if it's good or not, but it definitely kept my interest. And so that's what the other funny part is. Like, I don't know if it's good. I should rewatch it. Oh man. So this is a hell of a cast. Should I? Like, obviously, yeah. Everyone goes, "Hey, the guy from all those crime shows, yeah, all those psycho thrillers, he had a hit USA Network show, and here he is on freaking Hulu." So yeah, he's the main con artist who pretends to be a magician. At first I thought it was about a fortune teller, and it's like, well, it's half true. He later decides to work as a psychic, and then ironically, he actually believes it. And now that he realizes he has something to live for and change people's lives, he's got that quandary. So I'll go for the cast for just real fast. I don't want to bore everyone. Katie Strickland plays his con artist wife, and you might have seen her on that doctor show Private Practice. I never watched it. You might know her better as the lawyer chick in American Gangster. Oh, you've seen it. Okay. She's been in other stuff. Just Cruel Summer and Walker Payne and Anacondas 2. Yeah, I legit have always kind of liked her. She's really got a brief role in both Sixth Sense and Girl Interrupted, but she was always one of those that, like, I have seen your face. You're very unpredictable. You're really awesome. She was briefly on the Wesley Snipes show as like one of the FBI chicks on The Player. I don't know if anyone saw that, but it's a really fun show. David Zayas, I know you're gonna know him instantly from Expendables.
Yep, Expendable.
He was on the similar show.
And Dexter, to be fair.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to his Dexter role. I will always know him as Enrique on Oz. He's lately been popping up briefly in a recurring role as a crime lord on the FBI shows, threatening the guys and just being so cool while doing it, just like staying by saying, "You can't touch me. No charge is going to stick." He's also one of the crooked cops who, in the extended version of 16 Blocks, if you watch the alternate cut, he actually kills one of the main characters. So you'll barely see him.
I did not know that.
If you just see the regular cut of the movie, but if you don't go to the alternate version special feature, you see more of them. But when you just see the movie regularly, you've seen him run around, barely any dialogue. I do legit like him. I do feel like he's one of those cool Latino actors. He can either play it straight. Often he kind of uglifies himself in a lot of these roles. I couldn't do that. It's too much work. But yeah, lately he's been doing a lot of just gangster stuff, including Gotham. He was probably one of the few good things about the movie Skyline. But I always just legit like his voice and everything. He just seems to just always be very engaging. And he's probably more unrecognizable here. Yeah. So the hypnotist Gina is played by Emmanuel Shikri. You might have seen her on Superman and Lois. You Don't Mess with the Zohan and Entourage. Better role for her here, I think, just because she's not. They usually just give her a role where she just has to pose and be cute. She's actually getting pretty detailed here.
I just forgot she was on, to be honest. So
yeah. It's not a big role. I just mean in terms of just like compared to some other stuff I've seen her in. Like I've even seen her in one of the Call of Duty video games. And I'm just like,
oh wow,
she just seems to be given throwaway roles. She reminds me of some of these other just actors like Jonathan Charnock or Eric Balfour. Is like people liked them, but it took eons for them to they kind of kept having to restart because every other show they were on was like getting canceled, and every other movie was kind of infamous, but it wasn't their fault. Screen legend herself, Isabella Rossellini, is here. That's right. Blue Velvet, Roger Dodger, Enemy, and Incredibles 2. But I legit like I gotta applaud her. Like she has been even more unrecognizable lately. Also on here is Mel Harris from 30 something. Asif Mandavi, who you're going to definitely recognize from Spider-Man 2 and Daily Show, and Erica Gimbel, who as a big stage and music legend. You might know her from ER and Veronica Mars. Now, I applaud a lot of these people. Like that, they are all working against themselves. Like you, like we were talking off air before we began. I didn't know where it was going to go. I wasn't sure I was going to like it or not. I knew the acting was definitely going to be good, just because typically when you go with less used people, you know that they love the material and the screenwriters aren't just trying to rely on them to run the show. I really legit was just like, okay, this could go in an interesting way. The creator, Leslie Bohem, his credits include Nightmare on Elm Street 5, House 2, Daylight, Dante's Peak, and a bunch of other just obscure comedies and action movies. He had written for the show Extant and Steven Spielberg's Alien Invasion show Taken for Sci-Fi back in the day. So I was like, okay, these guys got credentials. Yeah, no, I really I wouldn't recommend like binge watching it. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's reasonable. Like it's apparently
it's very much like a slow burn.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently Breaking Bad and X-Files franchise writer John Shaban took over as showrunner in season 2. So that kind of made sense to me why it had a similar but moody kind of feel, but not too different from Breaking Bad, where you're just like that cold open. You're like, what the hell is going to go on? I can't look away. Even if I don't like this, I can't look away. Yeah, no, I feel like the plot twist kind of delivered. The recaps were good at solving any confusion I had initially. What would you say is a good takeaway from this?
No, I agree. It's one of those that you're not sure where it's going to go. I would actually call it unpredictable, because it's one of those shows where it's not overly cliche. Like,
they're all liars.
Cliches. I would argue.
It's so funny how, again, Donovan, he's been bred to be a liar, and yet he's breaking out of it. He's like, I actually don't want to lie anymore, and everyone's like, fuck you, you work for me. There was some interesting.
Yeah, it's always a fun aspect for this show.
Oh, totally. Some good directors on this. Clark Johnson, who you'll know from everything, movies like The Sentinel and SWAT, and TV like Homeland
and SWAT.
Yep. And also an actor. Deborah Chow of the Star Wars TV shows. She directed one that was a little creepy. Well, I shouldn't say a little. The whole thing is creepy, but Stephen Gyllenhaal. That's right. Director and of a bunch who happens to have a big acting family. He directed a few, and definitely I gotta applaud any of the actors, just because instead of just having to be a hard-boiled cop or a gangster with nothing to lose, it was kind of more just like, I don't believe what I believe, but I gotta milk it till no one buys my shit anymore. And I do have to actually applaud how they ended it. I know there was more in it, and there were some other good actors. Noah Bean from Nikita, Sanjay Shan, who worked with Donovan on Burn Notice, and others might know her from The Wire. But I really do applaud so many of these guys because like they had to just kind of show how they manipulate each other, and the people who do happen to be good, you don't know if they'll be just as bad as the people who are converting them to kind of this kind of gypsy cult, or if they're gonna just be a victim or just end up dead and affecting someone else. There are plenty of violent parties that turn very violent really fast.
Right, very fast.
Oh man, it's barely a party. David Zayas, I do feel is having a lot of fun, but I do applaud him. He does not ham it up. Kudos to the guy who played Fonzo, Angus Sampson. He's been on everything from Mad Max Fury Road to the Fargo TV show. He's now on the Lincoln Lawyers show as a biker turned like inspector for the lawyers. I applaud all these guys because like they're all having to even change up their hair and everything because they are con artists half the time, and then it's so funny. It doesn't like glamorize them, but it does kind of just show is like it's gonna get old after a while having to make up a lie every fucking day. I was expecting a few more people to get thrown out on top of the hood of cards, like you see in every other Tarantino kind of movie. Oh,
the show, but it's not like that at all.
No, it's very. It's only I would say mildly a dark comedy, but it's not like a. Yeah. It's in doses. It's not the whole thing. It's mostly just. I mean, kudos to the hallucinations because those could have gotten old really fast, but they kind of just kept them under wraps for when they really needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I never live in an area of this anywhere in LA. That is for sure.
I agree.
Jesus, those hotels, they did a good job of showing they don't look sleazy, but they all still look underwhelming.
Yeah,
it's like, man, these guys could have made it by now, being middle class, doing it the right way, but they just can't help themselves. They got to keep lying, keep lying. Oh fuck, I just fucked it up for everybody. That his lie doesn't work with her lie. Oh, we're fucked.
They add on more and more lies and
don't bullshit
more things happening.
Oh man. Yeah, no, thumbs up, mild recommend. It's not gonna be for everybody, but really the actors did a good job of just keeping it alive, and there were some decent plot twists. It's a lot to take in because it really is kind of unnerving. It's just
it's one that you have to be in the right mood.
Oh, absolutely.
I would argue.
Totally.
If you're in the bad mood, this is not the show you should be watching.
Oh, this show will piss you off because then it'll start reminding you of someone else who's probably wronged you growing up. I would definitely not. I mean, I did watch this on a day when I was sick, but that was different versus I don't want to do anything. Yeah, no. Don't watch it if you don't want to do anything today.
Yeah.
Rowena King was really easy on the eyes. She's been on everything. She's one of those other mixed actresses. Just a lot of guest appearances, video game voiceovers. I don't know that I know. Okay. Is she British? Yeah, no, she's a Brit.
I was gonna say, I think she's British, if I remember correctly.
I don't know how these people fool us. So
I know, I say that every time. I'm like, damn, they're so good at doing American accents or Southern accents.
Yeah, you might know her. Yeah, why do you do this to me? Why do you fool me? So you might know her best from The Bucket List. I think she played Morgan Freeman's daughter. She's been in other stuff, but yeah, very very cool, very cool. I liked how it was a bunch of atypical kind of people instead of it wasn't like half the cast included Stephen Bauer or Danny Trejo who do this kind of stuff for a living.
They went for more, obscure actors. They didn't try to go for like the A-listers, which
Yeah,
somebody would for this type of
totally.
show.
They're the B C-listers, but they're really good ones that have been around forever. So we're going to take a quick break, y'all, and when we come back, after you've heard the trailer for Barry. Alrighty. So this is going to really divide us, and that's okay. It's a very divisive show. So I had heard about this, but I had no idea that, like, hey, Bill Hader wanted to be an action star. This is the Dynamite cast, and I feel like, unlike what we just talked about, I can't compare this to Tarantino. I'm sure someone out there has, but this is really, 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 really original. Like, if anything, Tarantino should rip off this show.
It would actually help his films now, if you ask me. But
Absolutely, dude. Because like, I doubt he could have come up with any of this fucking shit. Like, this has so many turns. I will give you, yes, there are some daydreaming, kind of like on The Sopranos. There is, again, kind of like Breaking Bad, just that, especially Saul Goodman kind of sense, where he is just walking around, just kind of twiddling his thumbs before he's about to do something awful. But this is still in a class of its own. Like, I don't want to compare this to anything. Like,
no,
it would just do it no service. So many great actors on it, and like, I would dare say some career best from everybody, because like, I had so much build up to it. I had heard like an NPR interview with Stephen Root. It was everywhere, and it just took me a bit to catch up. But here we are. So 4 seasons. It ended when it wanted to. What was your big takeaway from Bill Hader's dramatic turn in this dark comedy show?
Well, it was fun for me as someone who was a huge fan of him on SNL at the time, and it was a show that I actually have said that kind of came out of nowhere because I never heard he was doing this until it got released.
Yeah, it's winning all the awards. What is this?
Well, it was like right when it premiered, because when he came back to host SNL the second time, he was promoting the first. I was like, "What is this show? I've never even heard of this until I finally got to watch it like months after it aired, and I fell in love with it since then. Particularly those early seasons.
Yeah,
just for the combination of dark comedy and the little bits of action you do get at times.
Oh, totally. Like, season 2 is pretty much gives all those John Wick movies a run for its money. It comes on in, and then just darts out, and everyone's like, what the hell? Find him.
Which is funny considering season 2 has Daniel Bernhardt, and what I would argue is probably the best episode of the whole show.
Oh yeah. It leads into season 2 and 3, and so I was a fan of the Van Damme knockoff guy. He'd been a stuntman. He like coordinated the fights in Creed 2, and I liked him as Agent Johnson in Matrix Reloaded. Obviously, I think he's really evolved as an actor now. Especially post John Wick. Like, he has gotten to the point where he's very intimidating.
Saul Goodman, he trained Bob Cook for nobody. If nobody knew that,
yeah, absolutely. He trained all the best ones. Clay Cullen had a brief role on here. He was the Chechen mobster gang that was on the motorcycles. He actually remember in season 3 where they're chasing Barry to the car dealership. And he actually had a name. His name was Robbie. I even had the subtitles on.
I remember him. Yep.
Right. And he's the son of Peter Cullen. That's right. Optimus Prime is his dad. And fun fact, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again real fast. Apparently, Peter Cullen congratulated Michael Bay on keeping his son safe on all those damn movies he did stunts on. But yeah, no, he was the second unit director on Hot Water, which is a wacky jet ski comedy. I was fortunate enough to interview Chris Gann on, and which basically every other giant Hollywood blockbuster stuntman worked on. But stunts aside, I do like how action happens when it needs to, and when it gets really dark, like instead of just feeling like I should switch the channel, like I want to listen to why they're so screwed up, as opposed to it went too far, or again, it's just I don't feel like it became like every other HBO show where people are tuning in, but just because it's shocking, not because they think it's good. Does that make sense?
Well, it never really went for that. It never went for like the shock.
No, like if anything, it keeps getting more outrageous. If anything, so
Yeah.
who is your favorite character in this deliberately messy scenario?
Oh God.
I'm a big NoHo
You
Hank
know,
fan.
you know what? You just named my favorite character. That's the one.
No, really. Oh, the
He's
teaching
always
guy.
been my favorite.
And
Seriously.
when they reveal how he's so closeted, he just looks around.
Yes.
So Fuente's just like, "You cool with this?" He's like, "Oh, brother, I'll die for this." Yeah, that just gave me a little like, what? What's going on here? Kudos to Michael Irby. That's not an easy role for him. I have heard him in interviews. He's been in everything. He just finished the Mayans, that Sons of Anarchy thing. I will always be a fan of him as Charles on The Unit, the Delta Force show by David Mamet. His credits include Fast Five, Faster, 24, The Last Castle, and Law Abiding Citizen. He's one of the cops who gets killed in that. It's briefly on SEAL Team, but that show goes from one end to the next. I definitely think one of his best roles is on The Expanse. Kudos to all these guys. I'll get into some of the other ones. So yeah, Bill Hader is Barry, the titular character, former private first class who is suffering from PTSD and depression.
Mm-hmm.
Has some very explosive Afghanistan flashbacks as it goes on. He, while trying to make a hit, which he indirectly does, gets mentored by acting teacher Gene Cousineau, played in a comeback role by the Fonz, Henry Winkler.
Mm-hmm.
Great actor studio of recent that he was on, and he got to talk about how meta this was, because he has had to teach acting, I think, in real life, and so this is even wilder. You start out kind of hating him because you kind of feel, oh, he's pretentious, he's doing it for the money, he's just bullying people, and then after a while, then he's getting really emotional. It's like, oh, I got to pass this on to the next guy. And kudos to Broadway sensation herself, Sarah Goldberg, who plays Sally, the A-list student in the class who later becomes kind of the dean of the acting school. And
here's another character that you is actually the opposite.
Absolutely.
It's one that you liked, and then you slowly got to hate her.
Absolutely. Mild plot hole. She really disappeared for a while, and then it's so wild how, oh man, I guess we might as well take it out of the bag, but it's just like, then like when she comes back on the scene, I'm like, did no one else notice her?
Yeah.
She was gone for a while. That's my only beef, but yeah, it's so funny how she is surrounded by even more unhappiness, and she and Barry could have been a match made in heaven, but the more they're together, the more unhappy they make each other. Like,
yeah, they do.
She makes him like freak out and deliver an unintentionally great acting moment and she just thinks, oh, that was great. And he's like, it was? Me losing my shit was great. Okay. And so he's so gullible because he's been taken advantage of all his life, whether it's by his own army platoon or committing war crimes or by his mentor, Monroe. So have you ever been a Stephen Root fan?
Oh yeah, not only from Office Space, but also, yes, I'm going to say this, even though I know it's not as popular as Dodgeball. I always enjoy them in.
Yeah, no, he's good in that. He's been in all the Coen Brothers movies. Office Space is definitely the one that got me on board. I know other people know him from News Radio and King of the Hill. News Radio, I would say, is definitely like somewhere in his top 10. He was really good as one of the other guys on Turn, that Revolutionary War spy show, and he's done other voiceovers for everything from Ice Age. Yeah, no, he's very unrecognizable here. In fact, he probably has the best cold entrances because as soon as he appears, he has fucked it up again for everybody. Really unrecognizable here as the detective investigating the case, who becomes the acting teacher's girlfriend, is Paula Newsome. If that, she was really happy to join this cast because she was like one of the first names that came up. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, she plays all these moms and detective roles." So you might have seen her in Little Miss Sunshine. I was a big fan of James Patterson's Women's Murders Club, and she is she's really good for those first few seasons of Chicago Med. She played Oliver Platt's cancer-dying wife who is estranged and gets back together before her inevitable death. She's probably the only good thing about the return to CSI. I say that because that role that show has plots you could shoot bullets through. Also here is Jim Moss, the father of the detective. You might know him as Bunny, the teacher on The Wire, is one of the FBI guys on Face Off. And I like how he also has served in the army, so he knows how to draw out, other soldiers, and Perry happens to be a soldier. Man, yeah, just Mark Ivaner from Schindler's List shows up as two Russian brothers.
Yep.
And I just so funny. It's like, at first I was like, they killed him last episode. It's his brother. They just said it. Laura San Giacomo, another Just Shoot Me favorite. You might also know her from Clearly Down Under, Sex, Lies, and Videotapes, and Pretty Woman. She gets to play the former girlfriend of the acting teacher who is trying to make a comeback by directing the theater, and she's like, "Don't screw with my set." Yeah, I know. So many great actors. Even the guys playing Barry's old friends, some who he has to indirectly kill. There's so many blink and miss it SNL roles. Melissa Villasenar and Melissa Vader were both on there.
Basically in the pilots, and Vanessa Bayer on one episode that I particularly like. That whole section, I was laughing so hard.
Oh, totally. There was one that I actually had to blink and like rewind. I'm like, whoa, what? Annabeth Gish from West Wing and X-Files was one of the widows of one of his victims.
Yeah.
It's like she recognized him. That motherfucker, he killed my husband. And then you forget about it because there's so much other crazy shit going on in that same episode. But she appears in the next episode, and you're like, and then she's like, "Yeah, I don't have it in me. Fuck it."
Yep.
I'm just going away. So I do. Adult Swim is probably shitting their pants. They're like, I wish we could have had something like this in animated form. Michael Ironside played a mafia boss in like 2 episodes.
I was so happy to see him when he showed up.
And I like how he just kind of, he's like in control, but he has kind of a really. He's getting, I have to do everything kind of like. So I know it's not your favorite season, but I really dug Fred Armisen as the prison assassin.
Oh, no, that's my favorite episode, season 4.
Okay, perfect.
Particularly that moment, because it was just a surprise.
Yeah, he is incompetent all around. And here's another Office Space reference. Freaking Richard, Real is the warden.
Yep.
And so I'm like, see, everybody, it's a 6 Degrees Kevin Bacon role for sure. Hamlin from Better Call Saul was in one, and I was like, you motherfucker. But yeah, no, he's when Barry's dreaming about like if he were, or no, it's in that Unsold TV pilot that Sarah's in, and no, Sally's in, and I was just like, yeah. They made all the things count. I was actually guffawing a bunch, and I thought it was well written and everything, but I was really, really just guffawing at Joe Mantegna playing himself. Because I know he does. Well, because he also does work with actual veterans in real life, and I just like how they wrote that in. It's like, hey, just come on over to my fundraiser after work, and then it's the worst thing he could have ever, recommended because we we thought, oh no, he and the acting teacher just got to get over their ways, and it's like, well, no, the acting teacher is pissed off virtually everybody, including his wife.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out. They had acting teacher, casting director herself, Allison Jones, make a cameo, so I thought that was awesome.
It was also interesting seeing like Paul Gosling show up.
Yes, he was another
episode,
kind of
just out of nowhere.
Just a blink and a miss it, but it felt like it was really well thought out instead of just, oh, that's just too cute, but I mean, Allison Jones is a huge, casting director, so I felt like that was them personally thanking her for casting all those SNL Parks and Rec type shows. Charles Parnell, oh, that's right. Freaking Master Chief from Last Ship, when he showed up, just all that gray hair, and like just I just loved how when they get the acting teacher like trapped, he's like, "You really thought you were gonna you should have just stayed in Israel when you fled." Like taking you
Yep.
in, man. Yeah, there were some other good ones. We could go on all day about this. Elizabeth Perkins showed up real brief. I really did dig how they also showed kind of the insensitive casting directors and producers and how all the other stuff unintentionally came. Favorite acting performance. This is a little different. There's another Saul guy in here, JB Blanc, who's one of the other bosses, but he bosses Hank around. But my personal favorite was James Hiroyuki Lyle. He plays Barry's former Marine buddy, who's also a special FBI agent, and he's going through way more PTSD.
Yeah.
When he showed up at the end of season 2 and into 3, I was just like, oh, I love that guy. Like he is always a delight. Like he is. You've seen him in some other roles, and he's kind of been wasted, like Battle LA and Snake Eyes, but the G.I. Joe origin movie. But I really dug him on the crappy season of 24 where they went to New York, and he was the hacker guy on Prison Break, and he's done other great guest spots and everything. But I felt like they really gave him some juicy stuff here, and because at first I'm like, how did he track Barry down in the woods? I'm like, well, I can go with that because he knows so much about his teammate. He's thinking I'm sure he's had plenty of bunker downtime to ask, hey, Barry, where would you go in your free time? Well, I'm going in the woods. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but like,
It's gonna be a great finale for that character. It's actually a good.
Totally. Yeah.
It's not. They don't just not resolve it like some shows would, to the point that
yeah, I was afraid they would. Not really.
That's what I was afraid to. Like, kept saying, "Oh, please don't drop this. Please don't."
Totally.
And thank God he didn't. So.
And then when they like pull us in on season 2, and we think, oh yeah, some of the other detectives, yeah, they want to avenge Janice. Is like, no, they're also kind of crooked. They want to blackmail Barry and his anger into killing someone who slept with their wife and wronged them, all these bullies, and then they're gonna arrest him or kill them anyway. It's like, what the fuck, man? Again, suck it, Tarantino. You could not think this shit up. Although a Mr. Pink cameo would have been nice, but that'd be too much.
Although I wouldn't mind that, but
I know. I'll take it. So, yeah, no, that they had some other stuff. I liked how, like you say, like they're not the same people at the end of it. They near the end, like, so you're gonna hate me for this. I laughed the hardest in the final episode.
Really?
I know you're thinking, Cameron, you fucking bastard. Why would you do that? I'm like, I thought it could go so many ways. Yeah, because after the acting teacher, freaks out and accidentally shoots his son, which I didn't realize at the time. I'm like, did he shoot the delivery guy? Oh no, that's his son getting groceries. And
Yeah.
he's just fled. I thought it's going to go so many ways. Either the agent's going to shoot him, he's going to accidentally shoot himself as Barry's coming in to try and mend ways. I'm like, he comes in, he's here to make everything right. And instead, he just basically walks to his death. And it's the way he just says, oh, well, oh no. I'm like, oh, that is fucked. That is so fucked up.
No, that part I didn't mind, actually, in the episode.
Well, how wild how Barry's handler actually ends up way better. He has all these what looks like swastikas. He's basically a prison bitch turned gang leader. And I like how his estranged wife is like, yeah, it's all good. Boyfriend's a little intense, but he's giving us food for burgers, so I guess it's okay. I just, that stuff was kind of amusing to me. If anything, it was just tough adjusting to kind of the criminal underworld transition in season 3, because it did feel like a walking cartoon at times. But I think what makes up for it is they're still doing just kind of the cold opens where you're like, again, the voyeur look, you're just looking in on something, you're like, what is going on? Oh boy.
That's the one thing I missed. That's the one thing I was disappointed with season 4. They didn't really do that as much.
Yeah, pretty much only at his compound, and then the rest of the time you had to keep up. You're like, okay, so Sally's having to be a bartender, a waitress, and Barry's having to pretend, be a farmer. I'm like, wow, how did this happen? That was a little rough.
Yeah, that whole section still hasn't worked with me personally to this day.
I get it. It's not really something that's entertaining. I think that's just it, because everything else has been just kind of seeing shit hit the fan, but it's really organized as opposed to just too goofy. Or
well, yeah, I understand that.
I think it just kind of feels like it's kind of like when you've had a party and you have someone who you like having to tell you to just kind of wind down, and you're like, I don't want to go home yet. I don't want to go home. I don't want to leave.
But one thing I can mention with this show is, you have to see Bill Hader direct a lot of the episodes on here, and he showcases that he could almost be like Jordan Peele. Well,
the ones where he was
could be
running
this incredible
around.
director.
Yeah,
he could be like this incredible director that can go on have a massive career. So
please, because as you and I are, we both love the hell out of Skeleton Twins. That there should have been a Kristen Wiig cameo. That's all. That's the only beef I'll have.
Well, I don't know what she was doing at the time, so I don't know. But it would be fun if she showed up.
She had a wacky buddy comedy and a few other things. But yeah, no, kudos to how they did all the plots. I did find them all equally interesting. Because
oh yeah,
like when NoHo Hank, goes from being kind of this wimp to kind of this cool guy and everything. I just dug how he's training the soldier army, but they're better than everybody. So they're kind of just running the show, and he's just he goes from being the leader to kind of the tag along kind of guy. And that just really just made me guffaw, because it really was kind of original. All these soldiers who kind of do this personal mobster business, and they're like almost Running Man style. They're all from around the globe to kind of train and everything, be brainwashed and everything. And I just, and then how NoHo Hank, very cool work also by Miguel Sandoval, just having him be part of. So it wasn't, what gang was it? It was, work with me here. The Bolivian mob. I love how he came in and said, he just knows what's up. He's like, Cristobal, you have not seen my daughter, who is your wife. It's just instantly it's like, oh yeah, he knows what's up. He's the head of the mob, and I just love how he was taken for a fool, and just all that plot B stuff was really interesting. It wasn't all about making you uncomfortable or based on whether or not the actor could do it. But yeah, Alec Berg, the creator of this, again, he has. So wait, no, did he create it or co-create it?
He was one of the creators. It was him and Bill Hader both created it.
Right, because I saw him direct and produce a lot of episodes. Okay, so, but he has a great resume. I mean, various episodes of Seinfeld, Conan, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Silicon Valley, and then movies like Euro Trip. So in Clear
I think
History.
he produced 6 Feet Under, if I remember correctly. Or...
No, but close enough.
No.
And plenty of other stuff for the company.
Wrong person then.
Yeah, no. So, either way, so he worked with Larry David and company, and but like you say, Bill Hader's direction was very interesting because it's like it made you forget he wasn't in the episode all that much, other than running or reacting. And
the way he directs some of the episodes, it's almost like you're watching a horror film at times.
It kind of was. I'm sure he has to be, given what a genre guy is. I mean, I think he directed the season 2 finale or one of those final ones, because that one was very action packed. So if anything, he definitely worked with a lot of these guys at doing all these hyper violent moments, and it was wild how he made it click without feeling like just, hey, you're leaving my sense of reality. Yeah, not too much. It's not going to be for everybody. Use some caution if you're really not into just very grim movies. It still might not click, but I think it's at least way more mature than a lot of stuff HBO's been dealing with lately, for sure.
Well, some people won't like the tone shifts on their own, especially during end of season 3 and into season 4. They won't like that at all. Because I met some people who haven't liked that regarding this show.
Absolutely. I do think marathoning it will make a difference, but if that's too much for you, that's okay. It's not hard to follow.
No, it's not. It's paced fairly well, and it doesn't feel like it drags like some shows would.
Yeah, it knew what it was opening day. I mean, that very first episode, he's just going after the target and then walks into the acting studio. And then I like how someone taps him on the shoulder, is like, what the hell are you doing out here? And having been in some theater classes, I liked how half the time there's like all these double meanings. Like someone's, they're thinking about this, but the audience sees a different side of them. So it definitely made fun of the whole kind of method acting, losing your mind, and
oh yeah,
and especially if you want to go on the horror aspect. I mean, the whole fact that Barry's handler, keeps telling him you're nothing and just being the big bully, and then when he finally pushes him away and then realizes, oh fuck, I still need him. Get some of these mobsters off my back. They don't have a Big Brother routine, but it's a total just like now I'm gonna bully you. Now I can get my revenge.
Yeah.
Now who's in control? It's a lot of fun.
I should also point out real quick.
Yes.
People don't realize the episode with Robinson has a cameo from a certain director.
Okay. I think I know. Jay Roach.
Well, I mean, I can say it's Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, that's right. Yes, recurring. And apparently he was a fan of the show, and Bill invited him on. He was honored. He was flattered. They do kind of a play on his name, and I like how he's just kind of the bearer of bad news.
It's almost unrecognizable.
It really was. I read about it in advance, so when the time I got to that episode, I was like, oh, okay, here he is.
Yeah, I knew about him too, but I had to make sure which one it was, and it ended up being the third one. So
totally. Everyone is
absolutely.
Everyone is so unrecognizable here. Even Gene, Henry Winkler's character's son. I've usually just seen him play a douchebag, and here he was playing a nice guy for a change, being just the estranged son. He's like, "Oh, you're so full of yourself, Dad. And you're acting this, acting that. What about hanging out with your grandson?" Yeah, total shift, because I had seen him on Bones and then Little Things, and he had almost always just been someone who I just craved disliking on screen. And for once, he was a nice guy who happened to be the son of a not so nice guy. But yeah, no, they were robbed at the Golden Globes. I don't give two shits. I was like, you gave all that stuff to Succession, which is a good show, and what was the other fucking show?
The Bear.
The Bear. Okay, I have no doubt that's a good show, but this and Better Call Saul didn't get a single dime. Please.
Oh, I could go all day especially about Ray Seahorn not getting one. So that. Yeah. That's a whole end of the day.
The music on this show, I would give it applause, because it's kind of a dry amount of, but then every once in a while they mix in like some jukebox hits and folk rock music, but it's interesting at kind of it. If you're listening to, much like some of these other shows, listen to the lyrics. It has everything to do with what's happening on screen. It is not just, hey, we needed just something to play during this thing, whatever we licensed.
It's specifically fun to hear like a Black Sabbath song, the instrumental version.
There were some 70s deep cuts. There was some of them were just very amusing because the characters are working out, but it's kind of, some of the songs were kind of cynical deliberately, and it really is like watching a pulp novel, but instead of having like a comic book kind of voice, like this isn't Tarantino or Kevin Smith being too much for their own good. This really is unlike anything else you guys have seen, and that is really saying a lot. I really don't know how else to describe it. It's just like, I've said this. We said this with Tales from the Crypt. The Crypt Keeper wasn't like anything you had seen on any other puppet show or dark anthology, dark comedy. So it's like, it's not about going to the next killing scene or will or really won't be caught. Like, it really gets into just, again, like you say, the psychological element, and those war flashbacks are even more amusing. I love how he enlists another dumb jarhead pal of his who's like, when do I start? And then he goes to his room and he doesn't want to talk anything intellectual. He's just watching, hardcore porn off screen and just drinking beers and saying, "Oh, I don't want to split it." Did you know what you signed up for? No, oh, dear. And it's even funnier when he thinks he's out of certain things. If anything, I would say this is a really, really, really above average digital short on SNL. Imagine if they went there, like Bill showed up. Oh man.
Yeah, they would need more of a budget, but
they would. Man, I just dug. I would watch this again. I would watch it all the way through. Just give me 20 years. Some catching up on all the other shit and other movies. But yeah, no, it could be easy viewing. It could also be dense viewing, depending on who you are. I don't have any beef with this.
Because I have my fair share of issues, but it's very minor compared to some shows where there's way more issues at hand.
Yeah, I think they just legit wanted to stop it, and maybe they could have stopped it a little more easier in its tracks. I don't know.
I mean, they could have stopped it probably season 3 when he gets arrested, but
Oh, but what's the
you
fun
know,
in that? No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I know Larry David told him that's how they should have ended it. That's the funny part. Is that Bill Hader said that he talked to Larry David and he goes, like, that was a great finale, great series finale. He goes, what are you talking about? That was season 4. He's like, why? It's like, why? You should just ended it with season 3. So
Jeez. They could have worked in a Seinfeld cameo. I would have been cool with that.
well, I mean, I don't know if he knows Seinfeld that well, but you know.
Well, I don't mean end it like Seinfeld.
I know.
That would have been my reaction. Was like, Larry, did you see how you ended your hit show?
Well, that's what he wanted him to do. Ended just like Seinfeld for some reason.
Oh no!
I'm like, oh,
Barry does not need to be in court. I would not. No. He already took his gloves off. the shoe fit the crime.
It was funny because I didn't know that's how Seinfeld ended until he mentioned it. I'm like, really? That's how it ended?
That's apparently the first episode Bill Murray ever saw, and he never watched the show again. He told Howard Stern in a recent interview. I'm like, why would you? No. Watch from the fucking start. Jeez. But hey, to be fair, I mean, I have done this with other movies and shows where people saw a crappy sequel and they thought that's all those movies are. And yeah, if you watch a shitty season of a show, you will think that's what it is 24/7.
And to be fair, I was one that did watch. I watched the series finale of Breaking Bad when it aired that night.
Yes, guilty as charged. I knew it ended with a lot of bloodshed. I didn't get into it for the longest time because all the people praising it were stoners, so I didn't trust their judgment.
Yeah, that's how I was too. So
I was just like, well, you've never seen anything else, so what do you mean it's fucking amazing? That can mean anything. You don't get it, dude. You gotta see it. I'm glad I did, but god damn. I mean, and then when you find out all the other people attached to it, there was a rumor Matthew Broderick was supposed to play him and Robin Williams. I'm like, no. It's gotta be an
can't see
unknown. I love Robin Williams, and he does not need to play Walter White.
No. I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
He's played plenty of villains, and all I need is the Fisher King and Good Will Hunting. I don't need any more drama. Man, so this has been a lot of fun. Do you have anything coming up that you would like to promote?
Don't have anything as of right now, but I'm sure something will come up soon. So.
What do you recommend for all the bloggers out there?
Well, I mean,
don't be a hitman like Barry, obviously, but I mean,
well, yeah.
Don't kill people, dudes. It doesn't happen.
One film I could recommend now that they just announced that it's going to digital and DVD on May is Land of Bad with Liam Hemsworth and Russell Crowe.
Yes.
That was surprisingly solid military thriller that I had some expectations for because of the director who did Underwater, William Eubank.
Yep.
But it was surprisingly deep, somewhat deep. And I'm not going to say it's
favorite movie is Die Hard, so I already like him.
And way more comedy in that than I expected, to be fair. Particularly from Russell Crowe.
It's Russell Crowe, the Russell Crowe show.
But
I would actually pay to see that. Russell Crowe is an assassin, and he goes around just punching people like on the South Park skit. Don't do that. It'd be awful.
It might. It will happen. I have a feeling it will happen. No,
it will happen. Taika Waititi presents the Russell Crowe show.
I'm not watching that, so there you go. That will not. No. Can't do it.
What did happen was a very gifted comedian made a dramatically engaging dark comedy. I will admit, I think a lot of people went into it and they didn't know it was a dark comedy. Just because it's not like, again, I think Tarantino has really polluted the waters. I think he's made everyone say, oh, it's got to be like the dead storage scene in Pulp Fiction. It's like, no, it doesn't. can be like Fargo. It can be like I Love You to Death. It can be even a Monty Python moment where you're like, what? Oh. Yeah, no, it was a good run. Obviously, there was a delay, but I think it just gave everyone time to catch up instead of get overwhelmed. And I'm surprised actually how many people saw it and liked it. That's definitely a win for HBO and kind of underrated in a way. Even though it came out and a lot of people saw it, I'm not seeing as many people talk about it. I'm like, you do know there's been other stuff on the network, right, guys?
Well, some people just don't bother watching. That's the problem. So
I guess I get that it's hard to market this, and we're all bummed down because they cancel every other thing, and it's just tough to keep up on with all the shit. Like, I keep up with all the Dick Wolf shows, but there are some where I'm like, I might not watch this after this season because it's getting repetitive. But then there's the other ones. It's like, well, that one's cool. I'll at least watch the crossover.
Well, all I say is, at least it's not Netflix. So,
oh yeah,
if this was Netflix, they would have canceled this after one season.
They would have canceled it, and we would have all killed our subscription and said, "Why do you kill creativity?" And then make all these cheap movies in Atlanta that star A-listers on a bad day that look cheap.
Let's just be thankful that it didn't happen now. So
check it out. Career best for everybody. Very creative, very engaging. Oh man. I want to talk about it more, but I feel like we've talked everyone to death. So thank you all for listening, and to all a good night.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up